Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make a short statement. I will try and answer some of your questions. I am somewhat constricted for those of you in the national media that may not be aware of this. The investigation that has resulted in the charges against Mr. Sandusky started under my watch as Attorney General in 2009. I was Attorney General until January 18th of this year. So under disciplinary rules, I am very limited by what I can say. I won't go into the investigation whatsoever. It's an ongoing investigation. You saw the comments of Attorney General Linda Kelly, and particularly since it is always an ongoing investigation, I will stay as far away as I possibly can. I make my observations as Governor of Pennsylvania in the interest of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and also as an ex officio board member of the Board of Trustees. I will not go into the details of the deliberations and the ongoing deliberations of the Board of Governors. That will be for the President and Vice President of the Board, and for Rod Erickson, who is the now President of the university, to make the statements upon the conclusion of the deliberations of the Board. Universities are, by their nature, larger than any one figure. Penn State will, I believe, I'm convinced of this, will continue in its excellence, in its reputation, in the tradition of its excellence in education. The Board acted, as I said yesterday, and on a couple days before that, swiftly and decisively. The actions, this week's actions that show that Penn State ultimately is governed by a board that represents a cross-section of the people, cross-section of Pennsylvania, and that is how it should be. Certainly, every Pennsylvanian who has any knowledge of this case, who has read the grand jury report, feels a sense of regret and a sorrow to also see careers end. But we must keep in mind that when it comes to the safety of children, there can be no margin for error, no hesitation to act. I want to repeat what I said yesterday in a press availability following a bill signing. This is directed to the students of the university. As I said then, the eyes of the nation are on you. They're fixed on this campus. Look around this room, look around the campus. Please, please, behave and demonstrate your pride in Penn State. Your actions speak much louder than your words, and will carry with you for a very long period of time. I believe in your right to assemble and your right to express your opinions. I do not believe, nor do I think anybody believes, in your right to violence. There is no such thing. When you chant that we are Penn State, make sure that you're demonstrating Penn State at its best. As a state, though, we now need to focus. And we have focused, but we need to refocus where it should be, on the victims. We need to identify these victims of sexual abuse. We need to find them. We need to help them. They are our children. As the Attorney General and the state police have asked, if there are more victims out there or witnesses out there, please come forward. I don't have the numbers with me, but you do have the numbers with you. With that, I'll be happy to try and answer some of your questions.
Can you begin to comprehend the arrogance of power that led some men to apparently believe that they could get away with this, and what lessons should we learn from this?
It's a good question. I believe the special committee that is being put together by the board has a mission to determine how it happened. maybe how that power was centered in a few. We need to learn, not only as a board, as a administration, as students, as a society, what I said earlier, that we need to protect children. We need to act. Unfortunately, in my career, particularly as Attorney General, I've seen many instances where people who have power believe that they're beyond the law. And I don't know you, so I'm assuming you're from the national media. We've had a series of investigations, now convictions, of corruption in the Capitol at Harrisburg, both the Republicans and the Democrats. That's what happens when people believe they have so much power that nobody can touch them. Next question.
Governor, you said with the safety of children, there should be no hesitation to act. Specifically, did you think that Paterno and Spanier, they did not do enough to act? They did not tell the authorities?
I was disappointed in their actions. I support the board's decision. Their actions caused me to not have confidence in their ability to continue to lead. Next question.
What does the university do about Tim Curley and Mike McQueary?
The university, and you will have to be talking to the university itself, still has some deliberations to make in that respect. Well, I'm not going to give you my opinion here. I have many opinions, and this is not the time to be sharing that. I have to see that the university addresses this in a proper way. I would remind everybody that it would appear. Now, I'm going to back up on McQueary.
Governor, there's obviously a lot of attention on Penn State, but there have also been a lot of questions about the Second Mile, the charity that Mr. Sandusky acquired, and how they had handled this matter. Had founded. Were you familiar with the Second Mile, and do you have any concerns about how they handled the information that they had about Mr. Sandusky?
I am familiar with the Second Mile. I believe there will be inquiry as to, first off, what information they had. Since the Attorney General has not done anything there yet in that respect, and charities do come under the purview of the Attorney General in a different section of the Attorney General's office, I make that as an observation, not as a conclusion. I think that relationships between outside charities and the university certainly have to be looked at, and I'm sure that that committee will look at it.
Do you have concerns about the way the charity officials handled this matter?
I don't know how they handled it, so I can't say that I have concerns. That has to be determined what, if anything, they knew about this. I have not seen, and I don't think any of you have seen, anything that anybody other than one individual connected with the charity. One individual had any knowledge.
And also the general counsel of the university was also the general counsel for the charity.
Again, I need to know what the charity, what the board members knew. And I think that's a determination that people will be looking into. Charlie?
Yesterday you said that you weren't going to make your feelings about Paterno and Spanier's actions known before you had a chance to talk to the board. Today you said you're disappointed in their actions. And I just wanted to follow up on that. Did you actually weigh in with your disappointment to the board members before they had their meeting last night?
I won't go into the deliberations of the board meeting last night. I sat, I listened to that. I will say that I reminded the board that we must remember that 10-year-old child and the other children.
You said that you needed swift action. Did this decision have to be made before Saturday?
I believe so.
You were disappointed in...
Let me, you've had a chance.
Governor, do you think that this scandal maybe opens up the discussion of the openness of Penn State as a state-related institution versus maybe being subject to some of the more open requirements of the state agency?
Penn State is in a unique position in the state, as you well know. Depending on when you look at it and how you look at it, nobody knows whether it's fish or fowl, frankly. For the national media, you might not understand that, but we do fund Penn State with taxpayer dollars, and that's what I'm looking out for. So I would hope, and I would implore the special committee, as they go through this, is to take a look at that, include that in their mission. Harold, you had a question?
Do you have any concerns about the mechanisms within the university that allowed allegations to be made in 1998? Long run, nothing happens. More allegations in 2002, and now here this case comes to light in 2011.
Harold, as we know, 1998, it was one series. I believe District Attorney Griecar was involved in that one to a certain extent. I don't know the details, so it's not fair for me to comment what was reported back into the administration at that point in time. In 2002, now you're getting into things that I just cannot comment on. Okay?
Joe Paterno knew about the incident in 2002 and did not pass it on to authorities, just like the athletic director Curley and Schultz did as well. Should he face, or should he be open to criminal charges?
Well, the Attorney General already said that he's not subject to criminal charges. You'll have to ask the Attorney General at that point. I'm not going to comment on that. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think Sandusky was insulated at all here in the university because the allegations, the delay from when the allegations were made and then the charges so much?
Again, you're asking me to speculate. I don't have those facts in front of me. I think someday you all are going to be able to write a book about what happened when it all comes out. But I hope you understand that I'm in a position, that which I know about the investigation, I can't comment on today. I've been doing this side the whole time. Let me do this side.
Do you see a need for legal changes at the state level in terms of how these sorts of incidents are reported, in addition to whatever may come out of the university?
Laura, I think that's a little early right now. I would not be surprised. I think I saw where one state rep, Doyle, is it Doyle? Yeah, out of Philly? Boyle, I'm sorry, out of Philly, has made a recommendation. I'm sure that the legislature will be bringing this up in the remaining time that they're here. Right, frankly, I haven't had the chance to take a look at it at this point.
Governor, you said at the beginning of your remarks that universities are bigger than any one figure. Do you think there's any sort of contributory factor here that one figure was sort of elevated above all others in the culture of this university?
Say that again?
You said there's one figure, that a university is bigger than any one person. And do you think that the part of the problem here was that one person, perhaps Coach Paterno, was elevated above all others, and that maybe led to some insulation? Or
I can't. That's speculation there. I'm not going to go into that.
Governor, were you aware of a report that Sandusky was exploiting the kids and providing them to rich patrons? Is it true? Is it under investigation? Can you rule it out? Any information regarding that?
Are you saying a recent report? I'm not aware of that. I mean, somebody mentioned it to me. Wasn't aware of it. Haven't heard of it before.
Can you rule it out? I mean, it's under investigation. Can you say anything about that?
You'd have to ask the Attorney General. I don't know. I'm not involved in the investigation now. Okay.
Governor, did that come up when you were... Governor, do you have a message?
Now you're asking me something I can't answer.
Well, I mean, you weren't aware of it, so were you not aware of it?
You take, I'm not aware of it for what it is. You take, I'm not aware of it for what it is. Okay, in the back row.
Governor, without going into any of the specifics that you can't do, is it gratifying to see an investigation that you started finally come to light?
Yes.
Governor, you spoke about the safety of children should be our first concern. Do you have any direct knowledge of the psychological or the damage suffered by any of these victims?
No.
Governor, you said that you were disappointed in Spanier and Paterno's actions or inactions. Can you comment, when you learned from the grand jury report and learning in the investigation about McQuarrie's eyewitness account of the rape in the shower, what's your reaction to that somebody witnessed that?
I think my reaction is probably the same reaction as of any adult in this room or in the world. Yes, ma'am.
You said that the school had some decisions to make on McQuarrie. There is a report that the board asked that he not be on the field Saturday.
I'm not going to go into what the board has been talking about in regard to any of those individuals.
Can you
talk
Governor,
about
what's your
why you
message to-
decided when you were the Attorney General not to press charges against Sandusky in that initial?
Say that again?
When you were Attorney General and the case from Clinton County came to your desk, can you talk about why you decided to look at a more broad case instead of charging him on that one right away?
Well, no, I'm not going to comment on that, but I would comment about it. And I think you all need to understand how investigations work. You get information, you get a case referred to you, you begin to take a look at a case, and I'm not speaking of this case, and you develop witnesses. Harold, you know this. You develop witnesses, and you go from one witness to the next, and you continue to build a case. Oftentimes it leads you to places you never would have imagined that it would lead you to. Oftentimes it takes quite a bit of time. If we talk about the Bonus Gate investigation, one of the things that the local media, for those of you in the national, complained about, that it was taking too long. It took us 2 years, I think, from the time we got the first bit of information before we got to the first presentment. But I think when all was said and done, it demonstrated that when you do your job through a grand jury correctly, you show to the people exactly what was going on. And I think that is exactly what's going on in this investigation.
In Bonus Gate, you had multiple stages of arrest, though. I mean, do you expect that in this case, too?
You're asking, again, you know, that's a completely different type of case. That was multiple individuals, multiple schemes. I can't, right now, that's not what you're seeing here. In the back.
Do you believe that President Spanger should face criminal charges?
You're asking me again, Attorney General Kelly said the investigation is ongoing. I was involved in the investigation. I'm not going to comment on that.
What's your message to parents who are paying a lot of money across the state and elsewhere to send their students?
But let's not just talk about here. I think parents across the state want to know that their students are safe. And I think it's incumbent upon all colleges, universities, high schools, middle schools, grade schools, to keep the children safe. But yeah, we've done you too many times.
Governor, if we're all going to be able to write a book about this without speaking of specifics, how big is the book going to be? How pervasive?
I have no idea.
There's been a complete breakdown of the culture here. Others say there's just a complete breakdown in roles of authority. How big is this? How concerned are you that this institution is failing in its basic moral obligation?
I believe that this institution has produced hundreds of thousands of excellent graduates. That's not a failure. I believe some people have done things wrong in this institution and in every other college. I don't believe in throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I do believe, and you can see where I'm going with this, in getting the facts, telling you the facts, and giving you the facts. That's what the Attorney General is doing. That's what this committee is supposed to do, that the President of the Board is going to appoint.
Is there a possibility of more terminations or more staffing moves by the board?
I couldn't answer that right now.
So what was your reaction to yesterday to the Department of Education, the federal government launching an investigation into Penn State?
Federal government, having been a former U.S. attorney, I know it's a separate sovereign. They have the right to do it. They have a law that was passed. They're going to make their inquiries.
Earlier you spoke about students and asking them not to turn violent. What about students who are just so numb right now, feeling hurt that their school is in this negative spotlight? What do you say to them?
Come together. Earlier today, and I don't know whether you covered it, you had student leaders come together on the steps of Old Main, I think at about 12:30. A number of them talking about the school, talking about the students, talking about how they address this. I believe Saturday is a blue out on that day. Show solidarity with the victims. Come together. There are greater alternatives than violence.
I know you can't talk about the context, but how tough have the deliberations been of the board the last few days, the last week?
That would be talking about the deliberations, wouldn't it?
Well, not the actual context, just how difficult they've been. Is it stressful? Is it, decisions been easy to make? Or?
there's been a very good open dialogue. Very respectful, open dialogue with differences of opinion. Okay?
When you saw the video of the riots last night, what was going through your mind?
Knuckleheads. Yeah, you want to, you have a passion? Great. You want to demonstrate? Great. You want to speak out? Great. Violence is a knucklehead.
What role does the board play in inciting that violence by firing
None.
at night?
None. 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 No justification for violence. One last question.
Can you say whether the Board of Trustees was given any sort of advance notification of the charges before they were filed?
I wouldn't believe so. I don't know, but I would not believe so. That would not be the policy of the Attorney General's office that I had, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. In the back in the corner. Last one.
Can you tell us how many of those taxpayer dollars that you're worried about shepherding might be going into a step into the agreement with Dr. Spanier?
Might be going into what?
With Dr. Spanier?
I think that's a question for down the road. Okay, thank you all very much.